Well, welcome one and all to the conference today. I'm going to be using a PowerPoint to help me, especially with my English, because even though I'm English speaking, sometimes I get a little stuck since I learned Afghan walking in French. But also because for me, it was part of my creation, artistic creation of this conference was to make a PowerPoint. I actually really enjoyed it. Yes, I was born and raised in the United States. I moved to Quebec in 1994, and I now live and work on Montreal's South Shore. I was introduced to Afghan walking a couple of years ago and did my instructor training in 2020 with Sylvia Edgerton, the founder of MAQ Afghan Quebec. I'm a certified fitness instructor and a short hike guide. I teach movement classes online and in local nature centers. I am presently pursuing a Qigong teacher certification to add to the mix. Okay. And I don't know how to change the page. Here we go. My mission is to share with others the joy, lightness, and sense of connection I experience through nature and through movement. In today's program, I will be giving a brief kind of origin story of Afghan walking and the why behind the name. I know a lot of people ask me, why is it called that? So we'll get to that. So don't worry, just let that part of your brain relax. We will be covering that. I will also be telling you about the core principles, a little bit of the walking poetry, as I call it, the beauty and the art of it, the main benefits for the body and the mind, a little bit about breath release and what that means to me, introduction to the rhythms, and we'll do a short breath practice ourselves together. At the end, you'll have a chance to ask questions and share any feedback or even takeaways for you, how that was for you, what questions you have. I'm still working on trying to figure out how to go. There we go. Okay. Afghan walking, the origin story. So where does it come from? In the early 1980s, the Frenchman, possibly Swiss, anyway, European, Edward Stigler, developed the walking and breathing technique he coined Afghan walking. Stigler was already an advanced practitioner of breathing exercises for health and well-being, and he traveled to Afghanistan on an economic mission. There, he observed the phenomenal endurance of the local nomadic people who walk hundreds of miles over mountains and across deserts with little to no sign of fatigue. In the fall, when the temperatures dropped and the caravanner's breath condensed into visible water droplets, Stigler was able to see the travelers' breath patterns because of those droplets. And he noticed that their breaths seemed to be synchronized with their steps. He hypothesized that this might be the secret behind their exceptional stamina. From these observations, as well as his extensive experimentation and accumulated knowledge, Stigler formalized this technique of coordinating breath and walking rhythms into what he called Afghan walking. In 1981, he published a book on the method, Régénération par la marche afghane, or regeneration through Afghan walking. So now we're at the name. Where does the name come from? You're starting to get an idea. As you now know, Afghan walking was given its name not by the Afghan people nor any Afghan institution, but by a curious European visitor who synthesized his observations of the inspiring and most likely ancient practices of the nomads of the region with his knowledge and experience to create something new. Breathing practices are part of every culture and spiritual path and health regimen. Afghan walking is one approach among many that comes from observation, experimentation, and refinement of techniques so that we might learn from those who passed before us, or should I say, walk in the footsteps of our ancestors. So let's come to the core principles. What are we talking about? What is Marche Afghan or Afghan walking? First of all, one of the most important principles is the coordination of breath and the rhythm of the steps. Breathing is done through the nose. Now, this is what's recommended. I like to tell people, we're going to try breathing through the nose and see how it goes, but don't let this be the thing that keeps you from doing it. So if you, in the beginning, you have any difficulties breathing through your nose, you can breathe through your mouth. One of the things I like about Afghan walking is you're free. You're free to do what works for you. So please don't let any of the technicalities trip you up. So if this is one of those things that you don't feel comfortable with right away, you should still practice Afghan walking, and over time you might find that it becomes easier and even natural. Another principle is there's a variety of rhythms that are used depending on the objectives of the walker and the type of terrain. There also is the concept of the release of muscular and emotional tension to allow for a natural breath, alignment, and a movement to emerge. Afghan walking is accessible to everyone and is applicable to any sport or physical activity. And even those who are not walking on two legs, you can use it in a wheelchair, you can use it sitting, you can use it in laying in bed if you're laying in bed. It's very much accessible to everyone. A bit of the poetry, because what's life without poetry? Afghan walking is not a technique. It is a daily way of life that engages the main driving forces of the body, the lungs, the heart, the muscles, and the brain. Walking is not a gesture. It is an innate relationship with the body and its environment, a state of the living human. That's why walking engages the person in his or her own nature. To walk is to affirm one's being. When conscious breathing is associated with walking, we can say that we are connected to both the sky by our breath and to the earth by the will of our step. These previous quotes are excerpts from The Art of Walking Towards Yourself by Sylvia Edgerton. Beautiful, right? I find them very inspiring. So Afghan walking is about mindfulness and breath, freedom from patterns of tension and restrictions, and grounding and centering our bodies in alignment with nature. What are some of the benefits of Afghan walking? It promotes blood circulation and better oxygenation, regularizes the heart rate, provides ligament and joint flexibility as well as muscular relaxation, improves the quality of sleep and mental concentration, promotes a natural and easeful body alignment, helps release accumulated tension from the body and the mind, and provides a readily accessible and free of charge means of self-care and stress management. That last one, I have to say, is really true in my life. If I'm feeling any kind of stress or you just give a little tension, even just a little tightness, I go for a 10-minute walk using the Afghan method, and it just kind of resets my compass. It kind of re-grounds me, and it's free. So why not? It's free and available, and you don't have to do it for an hour. You could do it for 5 minutes around the block. It's very much available. Breath release. What am I talking about when I'm talking about breath release? Breath is both an involuntary and a voluntary action. Most of us have limitations to a full breath cycle due to stress, habits, posture, and/or trauma. In Afghan walking, we practice a variety of different exercises to learn to release these limitations. With fewer restrictions, We then allow the breath to perform its purpose without effort or external corrections. Natural breathing involves four phases. There's a little French slipping in. Inhalation, retention at the top of the inhalation, exhalation, and retention at the bottom of the exhalation. Even if we are not conscious of it, there's a slight suspension at the top and the bottom of each breath. It can be exaggerated. We can make those suspensions longer and fuller, like holding our breath at the top and the bottom, or they can be very subtle, little pauses. But in a natural breath, there's a slight suspension at the top and the bottom. The whole body, and most notably the whole spine, torso, and pelvis, move when we breathe, like a tide moving through the ocean. This happens naturally without applied effort or control. So to give you an example of some of the basic rhythm, I'm going to do a little demo. You can do it along with me if you like. So to demonstrate the basic rhythm we use in Afghan walking for flat terrain or for long walks, I will right now clap my hands for each beat. Each clap will represent a footstep. So you can kind of visualize yourself walking along the beach or the forest, and that the footfall is the clap, is the sound of your foot hitting the ground. It's not precise, but just to give you an idea of the rhythm and what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a rhythm. So the basic is, you can see in the chart, inhale for 3, retention at the top for 1, exhale for 3, and retention at the bottom for 1. But for now, we're just gonna tap to get a feeling of the footfall having a rhythm. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. That's one cycle. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. Obviously, I couldn't do the breathing with that, so it's just to give you an idea of kind of how we start learning it. It's also nice to, when we're walking, to get into a rhythm where we're not starting and stopping, and we kind of have just getting the footsteps falling in a rhythmic way is very comforting and grounding. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my feet instead of the clapping. While I'm sitting here, I'm going to just lift my legs and let them drop. And you can do it with me if you want. If you don't want to, you're free to do as you wish. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. And that would be one cycle, breathing in, holding the breath at the top, exhaling, holding the breath at the bottom. We'll do it again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. So for the last little demonstration, I know it's very strange to do this virtually, because in real life we'd be outside and we would take a walk together. But this is how we're gonna try to get the feeling of it. So lastly, I'm gonna actually add the breath, continue with the rhythm with my feet. I use a system where I have my fingers going up for breathing in, the pause. I use the word pause for the retention because it's too long to say retention. So up, breathing in, pause, breathing out. So here we go. Breathe in, 2, 3, pause, out, 2, 3, pause, in, 2, 3, pause, out, 2, 3, pause. I'm going to exaggerate my breath a little bit so you can hear it. Pause. This gives you a little taste, a little idea of what we're talking about. Breath practice. I was wondering if you were interested in doing a little bit of a breath practice with me. It's one of these things that we can do to help get in touch with our breath. Earlier, I mentioned the breath release. This is the kind of exercise we might do. There's a lot of different ones, but just to get in touch with our breath and to release some of that tension so that we have a more free breath. So when we apply the rhythms, if the breath is tense, if there's a lot of restrictions, it's even harder to get the rhythm going. So being able to release that, the breath is an important part. So if you want to do it with me, that's great. We're going to start by sitting on our sits bones. So we kind of move up in the front of our chair so that we're going to feel the bony protuberance in our bum sitting into the chair. You kind of wiggle back and forth. And if you could feel that you have, oh, that's true, there's bones under there. That's what we're talking about. And your arms in front of you, sort of like you're getting tired in a classroom, you're actually allowed today to put your head down on your forearms. If that's too long and too far of a bend, you can even stack up your wrist, what are these called? They pointing the wrists, hands, and you can put your forehead on that if that's easier for you. Basically, what you're trying to find is a position that you can let it go, that you can just relax. So I'll let you get into position. You might want to close your eyes. It helps to go inside and to feel inside how you feel. And if having your hands on your arms doesn't work for you, you can also sit and just relax with your hands on your thighs. Whatever works that you can really let go. So with your eyes closed, if that works for you, allow the weight of your head to fully relax into your forearms. And just take a minute to observe the movement of the breath coming through into your body and out of your body. You might notice there's some areas that are more tense than others, maybe in the neck or the jaw, maybe the forehead, lower belly or chest. And you can consciously allow those parts to release gradually. You can ask yourself, where does the movement of the breath go? Is there movement in the abdomen? Is there movement in the kidney area in your back, in your upper chest? Do you feel any movement in your sinuses? Where do you feel the breath creating that tide of in and out? Without judgment, without needing it to be in any particular way, just notice. Now, if you'd like, we're going to keep with that, stay in that place where we're observing our inner breath. And just try counting when we're counting in and out. We won't do the pauses. We're going to skip those, the retention, but just counting in for 3 and out for 3. Inside in our heads and silently. Notice how focusing your attention on counting centers your mind into the present moment and into your bodily experience. There's no correct speed. There's no wrong speed. Whatever works for you. When you're ready, you take one more breath in. And when you let it out, you can gently push into your forearms to bring your upper body up back into a sitting position. And slowly open your eyes and come back. Thanks for being up for trying something. That's fun. That is the end of my conference. I'm just going to say that if you're interested in what I do, my company name is Les Sentiers vers soi, which translates loosely in Trails to the Self, which I find sounds much better in French, just so you know. I made a cute little QR code. If you have a camera on your phone and you point it at the QR code, my website will come up. Isn't that adorable? I'm also on Facebook, so you can look me up as Les Sentiers vers soi on Facebook. And I don't have any upcoming workshops right now, but I might very soon. So if you go to my website, you can sign up for the newsletter, and then you'll know when I do a workshop, you'll find out about it through the newsletter. And I don't send out a lot of newsletters, just so you know. You won't get them every week. That'll maybe once every month or two, there'll be a newsletter. So thank you so much.